growing up, even though we didn't necessarily have immediate family relatives that lived in Piedras, that's where I would go to the dentist. I didn't start going to the dentist in the United States until I was in my late 20s, which kind of shows something there. And then you would always go for dinner. It was just a quick trip over. It would maybe take 20 minutes to get to a restaurant and then come back. It was just that quick.
It was a beautiful, idyllic childhood. Like, I feel we actually, like, grew up in such a bubble, and, like, what a privilege to, like, have, my childhood so protected that I didn't, like, know anything about what people were saying about our home until 2016, you know? And so it was just, like, really jarring, and as you know, as you guys know, it's like when people talk about your home, because it's, like, never really talked about, we always, like, have a hard time explaining it, but then it's finally being talked about, and it's being talked about in this, like, really ridiculous way that we're like, "What?" And then it's just, like, had the, like, very visceral reaction of, like, "No, let me show you, like, I'll invite you, like, come with me and I'll show you the cool parts."
Mhm.
Like, if you look up Border on IMDb, and all the movies that come out with Border are always, like, the same stories, and I looked it up. They all are, like, like, trauma and, violence and carteles and, like, whatever, all the same shit, and, like, we know that, but I'm like, "No," but for us that are from the border, like, we know that border frontera means, like, carne asada, means cumbia, means, like, like, hanging out with our tios and tias, um, and, like, the identity crisis of not being ni de aquí ni de allá. It's just like, that's the real border crisis in my mind, and it's like, and no one's talking about that, and so
Yeah, being from, like, 2 different worlds, and not really seeing that in the media around you. I think maybe Hannah Montana was, like, the closest, like, thing that I felt like
totally.
That
related,
duality, like,
Yeah, the
this one
duality.
Yeah, and she said the
And then
best of both worlds, which we
yeah,
are.
totally. And and then I went to college and I realized, oh yeah, like when I tell people, I'm meeting people, a lot of people for the first time, and I'm telling them where I'm from. I'm grew up 10 minutes north of the border, and they kind of gave me this like, and I started college in 2017, like right after Trump came into office, and they would give me this look of like, is there even people who live there? Like I thought it was just this like arid landscape with like, I don't even know what they pictured, but they thought it was dangerous, even the more liberal people who like disagreed with Trump, like he had successfully gotten into the minds, and also all the media of like what the border looks like and is like.
But this is something that I've been, like, realizing, slowly realizing, and is what our mission is with, like, this production company and, like, this movie and, like, the work that we do, is that there isn't like, if you think about, like, for example, New York and New Yorkers and stuff, like, there's a culture, and everybody knows it. Everybody around the world knows it. Like, we know the accents, like, we know the fucking baseball hats, like, I have my Yankees hat, like, we know, like, we know all the nuances of it, and, like, yet when someone makes, like, a movie or writes a book about New York or, like, a song, no one's like, "But what about the crime? Like, why isn't" like, "But isn't New York
fascinating. I
dangerous?"
like this
But,
point.
like, we do that about the border all the time. Like, you don't talk about, like, LA, and you're like, and we all know the cultura, we all know, like, all the nuances of the culture, and people are always claiming it and so proud. But all of us well, I'll speak for myself from the border. I couldn't wait to leave and move to New York and call myself a New Yorker because I didn't have an identity to cling to. I thought I didn't. But then I realized I'm like, my identity, I'm like, okay, I'm not Mexican enough. I'm not American enough. I'm not Texan enough. But I'm all of these things. We're the best of all both worlds and all these worlds. And so that combination, like the sum of those many parts, is our culture.